you have a recipe for disaster, violence around you, and creating a unstable environment in communities who hear about the worst of these things on the media. When people are beating up a senior citizen and trying to take her car, when people are robbing and carjacking an Uber driver or a rideshare driver and killing them as a subsequent carjacking. These are things that have plagued Prince George's County. But I'll say one point of note here really is important. For the first time in our record keeping, in 2021, we arrested more juveniles for carjacking, for violent offenses, than we did adults. The same in 2022. And we're on a pace this year to arrest more juveniles for the violent crime of carjacking than in our record keeping history, which should raise an alarm, should signal an alarm across the region, because this region is very different from anything I've seen before. We cross lines here. We're in DC, Virginia, and Maryland in a matter of minutes. And these people recognize no boundaries.
It's the same trend as the chief mentioned. These carjackers, they don't know geographic boundaries, jurisdictional boundaries. But my problem in DC is going to be Prince Aziz's problem and Chief Davis's problem as well. Our armed violent offenders move across state lines. We had one that went to Tyson's Corner, committed a shooting and was incarcerated and is now facing severe consequences for that. So I thank you to the criminal justice system in the Commonwealth. We have our challenges here. When you're talking about the juvenile space, you're talking about adult space. The bright line is weapons, and especially weapons that are used in what we call contact shootings. And I still believe that it's a relatively few number of people committing the worst offenses within our city. And if we take an aggressive stance towards those violent offenders and incarcerate them, and that acts as a deterrent, that will have a positive net influence on our violent crime numbers throughout the city.
What we see in Fairfax is not inconsistent with what the rest of the Washington metropolitan area is seeing. So I talked a little bit earlier today about the bellwether crime for me is carjackings, typically committed in the National Capital Region by young people. They don't commit this crime by themselves. Typically, they're in a group, and they're bold and they're violent. And for public safety to continue to be effective, or to be as effective as we should be, I believe that the consequences for crimes like carjacking, a bellwether crime, just like a citizen robbery is a bellwether crime, a car theft is a bellwether crime. The consequences don't have to be necessarily severe and forever, but they need to be swift and certain. And I think that's the gap we're seeing. Listen, I support police reforms. I negotiated the consent decree when I was a police commissioner in the city of Baltimore. So I believe our profession has to continue to get better. I believe our profession's better now than it's ever been. And we shouldn't give up on getting even better. But I don't think we have to abandon the past proven and reliable tenets of our profession when it comes to holding people, particularly violent people, accountable for their behaviors